Alright, what's up guys? This is Ryan with Elevate Security. Now, in this video I wanted to show you one simple and easy exploit to look for, and especially on OSCP, this vulnerability can be pretty lucrative if it's specifically if it's combined with another one which I'll mention. You can actually get code execution off of this, and there's so many ways to really leverage this for some really good juicy stuff, and it's very quick to check for and try and exploit. So I wanted to make a brief video showcasing this, and the vulnerability that I'm talking about in this video is known as LFI, which is local file inclusion. Now I have one of the boxes from Hack the Box. This one's called Arctic, and I'm going to use that to showcase it here. Now you're gonna have to I'm gonna have to be patient with this box. It's very slow, I think by design. Every time you request a new page, you have to wait like up to like 20 seconds for it to load. That's just how it is here. But with local file inclusion, and this is something that I'm going to hands-on demo in a second, but just to give you the high-level overview of it, essentially it allows you to read files on the file system. So it's basically a vulnerability where it's not typically on a web, the way web servers work, right, is there's files that are intended to be viewable and opened, and that's what these web pages are. They're different files sitting on the server. Now the LFI vulnerability comes into play when you're able to sort of break out of that in a way. You're able to read all of the files that are on the underlying server, so not just the ones that are intended to be served up by the web server, but also system files like this. In this case, this is a Windows box, so the etc host file on the Windows box, the anything really. It could be log files and stuff like that. Now, if you're able to combine this with an RFI, with a remote file inclusion vulnerability, then you can get code execution. If you're, in the case of this box, the way you can exploit it is you're able to combine that with log poisoning and actually execute commands off of that. So this is a vulnerability where, it's similar to XML, external entities injection, which I've covered in a previous video. You're able to read the files on the file system. Now, if you can combine that, right, like if you can combine XXE with other vulnerabilities, you can get code execution. It's the same concept here. But just for this vulnerability, staying focused on the LFI vulnerability itself is what I want to do in this video. So I'm going to do that and showcase just how you can quickly check for and exploit this vulnerability. Now, doing a little bit of Google searching on Cold Fusion 8, which, like I always say, anytime you're getting free information like this, it tells you the version. You want to be searching it. You want to be looking for known vulnerabilities out there that you could potentially exploit. And so in my search of that, one of the things that I found was the local file inclusion vulnerability. And so there is this query parameter, this URL parameter here, locale, that is vulnerable, and as you can see, I exploited it in the past. Basically what you want to do is you want to, instead of giving it a valid locale, like it would expect like EN for like English, EN US or something for like English US, right? That's the value it would expect, but it's not properly restricting the input. It's not properly validating what you're putting in here, so you can actually pass it a file path and start reading files from the file system. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So that's why I have all of these, 2 period marks here. They're like CD, think of the CD command, // // I'm just going back as far as I can. Arbitrarily, I can have as many of these as I want, because let me just show you, for example, here, look, right now I'm in Home, Kali, Hack the Box, Arctic, Nmap, right? So if I go back 1, 2, 3, 4 times, I would get to the root file system, right? So if I CD 1, 2, 3, 4, that would put me, oops, 5 times rather, sorry. If I do that, let me just go back really quick. So if I do that 5 times, that would put me at the root file system. Now, it doesn't matter that 5 times. Hell, I could do it a bunch more times, right? Because once you get to the root file system and you go back, it's still gonna you're still gonna be at root, right? So arbitrarily, I just want to put in enough of these period slash, and you put in enough of these that I get to all the way to the root when part of the Windows file system. Now, like I was mentioning, this is a Windows file system. That's why I have backslash instead of forward slash. If this would be a Linux file system, I would do this with the forward slash, but that's just a little bit of the semantics of why I did it that way. Now from here, I want to test. See, if I didn't know this, like if this wasn't Cold Fusion, right, I knew it was a Windows box, I would look for something more general as my sort of proof of concept for this. So maybe I would look at something like Windows System32 drivers etc hosts. Now in this case, this is a special situation here why I did the %00, which is the null byte. It terminates it. So in the case, this was something that I found through the exploit when I did that Google search of Cold Fusion 8 vulnerabilities. Essentially, you pass it this, and because it's looking for a valid parameter for locale, so en, right? So I needed that as part of the string. Like I needed that in the, like after this equal sign, it needed to say some kind of valid one, just so it didn't return like some kind of error. However, because I have this null byte, it terminates it here when it's getting processed by the server. So basically it drops everything after this. So effectively it just runs this. So that's why I have it that way, kind of specific to this Cold Fusion 8 thing here that I'm exploiting. But in general, this is what you need to know to test for it. You want to, any kind of parameter you want to test for it, you just input something like this if it's a Windows system. Of course, if it's a Linux system, you can have // and so on, and then /etc/hosts, for example, right? So if I run this, and again, it's slow by design, so this is going to take a little bit, so bear with it. What it should show me is the actual Windows etc host file. So it should tell me all the users on the system and all that good stuff. But yep, it's going to take a minute to do that. And as you see, it did successfully return their etc host file. This is what the Windows etc host file looks like, a little bit different than what you might be familiar with Linux. So in the case of this box, actually this log file is vulnerable to log poisoning. So through that we can get a shell essentially. But I just wanted to showcase, well, actually, this is not a log file, but there is a log file that is accessible through exploiting this LFI vulnerability. I'll just close with this. And this was another thing, when I Google searched the vulnerability, this is how I was made aware of this directory, this application log here. Okay, yeah, and off camera, I figured out the issue, so I had to log an error first. So this application log didn't actually exist, because there were no errors, because this box had just been reset. So I had to do an invalid login attempt. That way there was something to log, so it had a reason to create that log file. So I did that, and then when I ran this again, I was able to get it to reflect on the page. So this is the log file, and so basically in order to get a shell from our LFI exploit here, we will just request an invalid page that includes the name of the page is like our payload, and that will get logged to this application.log file here and actually be executed as code if we run it, if we do like a Cold Fusion markup language exploit, and we can actually spawn a shell from this when we visit this page. But yeah, that was just getting a little bit more in depth with it and showing sort of how to expand from there into more stuff, which of course is useful on OSCP because a lot of times you find vulnerabilities that aren't truly useful until you can combine them with other vulnerabilities. So yeah, I hope this video was of value to you guys. Just let me know if there's any questions or comments down in the section below, and be sure to subscribe for more content. Hit the like button, helps out with the algorithms. And as always, I will see you in the next video.